Okay, good morning Year 5-6. Welcome to your maths lesson for Tuesday the 2nd of March. Arithmetic again for 5 minutes. Pause the video now. Okay, let's look at the answers. So 2 times 12 times 12, 288. 1 divided by 10 is 0.1. 122 take away 100 is 22. 5,122 take away something is 330. That's 4,792. 222 divided by 100 is 2.22. 2.2 times 1,000 is 2,200. And then 1,800 take away in brackets 1 times 2 times 2 is 1,796. So you do what's in the brackets first, then subtract that away from the 1,800. So some review questions, going over some previous learning, which is important. Also, some of them also quite important for what we're learning today and what you were learning yesterday as well. So again, no more than 5 to 10 minutes maximum. Having a go at these. Pause the video again now. Okay, so number 1, estimate the temperature at 10 AM. So we're looking at the line graph, find 10 AM. And then kind of estimate where it is on the line graph, reading then across the y-axis. So something around 17 degrees. If you put something like, I don't know, something around that, then I'm sure it'll be fine. 2,142 add something is 5,481. So to find this missing number here, you need to use the inverse. So you're going to subtract those two numbers to have got 3,339. Rounding this number to the nearest 100,000. So we know that we're going to have our answer will be a multiple of 100,000. So it needs to have this many zeros on the end of it. So then what we're going to look at, we're going to look at the 10,000 column, and then because that's a 4, we're going to round down, so it'll end up at 200,000. How many minutes are there in 3 hours? So 60 minutes in 1 hour, multiply that by 3, 180 minutes. Okay, so today we are continuing to think about statistics. We're continuing to think about understanding different charts and graphs, etc. And there's some key vocabulary which we really need to be aware of so that when we're answering questions, we know what the question wants us to do. And some of those questions will include words such as sum, comparison, and difference. So what we're learning today is how to answer questions which involve finding the sum, involve comparing, and involve finding the difference. So if we look at just these 3 questions, just to begin to think about what these 3 words mean. So the first one, what is the sum of 63 and 47? Now, notice the spelling of sum. So with this spelling of sum, it's a maths term and it means to add them. So what is the sum of 63 and 47 means you need to add those 2 numbers together. Added together will be 110. What is the difference between 200 and 104? Now, when we say find the difference, we don't mean kind of point out differences like this has a 2 in the hundreds column and this has a 1 in the hundreds column, or this has 0 in the ones and this has 4 in the ones. It's not finding those differences. It is calculating. It is a calculation that you have to do to find the difference. It is how far apart these 2 numbers are from each other. So if you imagine just a number line that had every single number on, it is how far apart these 2 numbers are. So the way to do that would be to subtract. So when you need to find the difference between 2 numbers, you need to subtract. So you would do 200 take away 104. So sum is to add, finding the difference is to subtract. So you subtract those 2 numbers and you get 96. When we're comparing numbers, that's when we talk about whether one number is larger or greater than or less than or equal to another. In this case, it might not be numbers, it's a calculation. We're comparing 67 take away 12 against 45 add 9. So is 67 take away 12, is that greater than, less than, or equal to 45 add 9? So we'd probably want to work both of these sides out, and then we could see which was greater. And you would have hopefully found that 67 take away 12 is greater than 45 add 9. I've clicked the next one, never mind. What number is halfway between 141 and 181? So again, imagine that number line, and you had 141 and 181, and you would count it to find what is halfway between the two. And where would you end up if you counted ones at a time and you ended up halfway between? You'd have 161. Okay, so what that means is then we can start to understand what calculations we need to do when we're presented with some questions around bar charts, pictograms, etc., or tables. So if we look at this one, how many more hours were there on Tuesday than Friday? So hours of sunshine and the day, how many more hours were there on Tuesday than Friday? So how many more? So we need to find the difference. We're not finding the total, we are finding the difference between Tuesday and Friday, because Tuesday had more than Friday and it wants us to figure out how many more. So you could do a subtraction, or you could use subtraction by counting up. First, we need to understand how many hours there were on each day. So on Friday, there was 1, 2, and it goes up in scales of 2. So halfway between 2 and 4, this is going to have to be 3. And then in this one, it's Tuesday's on 4. So how many more hours were there on Tuesday than Friday? There was 1 more hour on Tuesday than Friday. So measure them across, find the difference between the two. The difference between 4 and 3 is 1. What was the difference between the hours for Wednesday and Monday? So this time it's asking the same question, but different days, and just asking it in a different way. You're going to have to do exactly the same thing. This really was asking the difference. This is also asking the difference, but it's a little bit more explicit. So what was the difference between the hours for Wednesday and Monday? So Monday, it had 7. Wednesday, it had 5. So the difference between those would be this calculation here. What is that? That is 2 people. So, well, 2 hours, sorry. Okay, what is the total number of hours for Monday to Friday? What is the total number of hours for Monday to Friday? So with this one, it's not a difference, we're finding the total. That means we're finding the sum, so we are adding. If we're finding the total, we're usually adding. Usually, not necessarily always, we are adding. So we are adding all the days, Monday to Friday. So we're going to add 7, add 4, add 5, nothing for Thursday, and add 3 for Friday. So 7, 4, 5, 0, 3. Add those together. 7 and 3 is 10, 5 and 4 is 9. Add those together is 19. So it's 19 hours. There were 3 times as many hours on Saturday than Friday. Now it's not showing us Saturday. What it's saying is there are 3 times as many hours on Saturday than Friday. How many hours of sunshine were there on Saturday? Well, there were 3 hours on Friday, but there were 3 times that on Saturday. So have a think, how many hours were there on Saturday? How many hours of sunshine if there was 3 times the 3 hours we had on Friday? So hopefully you would have realized that you need to do 3 times 3, and it would be 9 hours. Okay, looking at a pictogram this time. So we've got teams, and we've got the number of rounders they've scored. And remember, with pictograms, first thing you should be looking for is this key. So each square represents 4 rounders scored. So we've got to remember this. So each key represents 4 rounders scored, which means I know that half of that, so if I had half of one, it would be 2 rounders. If I had a quarter of one, it would be 1 rounder. So we want to compare, first of all, we're going to compare the number of rounders scored between A and B versus C. So A and B against C. So we want to see, has A and B together scored more, so greater, less than, or equal to C? Well, A have scored 4 plus 2 is 6, and B have scored 4 plus 2, which equals 6. So add these two together, 6 and 6 is 12. How many has C scored? 4, 8, 12, plus an extra one here, 13. So C is actually scored more. So even added A and B together, it's still less than C. So A and B is less than C. 13, so A and B is less than C. Now comparing B and A, so B scored 6 and A scored 6, so they are equal. And then D and A, so D 4, 5, 6, 7. So D scored 7 and A we know scored 6. So D is going to be greater than A. Okay, and then how many rounders are scored in total? So to find out how many rounders are scored in total, we need to add all together, all the rounders for each team. So pause the video and just try and do that yourself. So see if you can add together all the rounders for all the teams together. So pause the video and try that now. So 6, add 6 plus the 13 plus the 7, we have 32 rounders. Add the halves, add the little ones. Okay, right, this table, we've got how could we sort these shapes? So we've got some shapes here and we're going to arrange them into a table. How could we arrange them into a table? We could arrange them into circles and squares. So how many circles are there? How many squares are there? So there are 5 circles and there are 4 squares. So in the total, we have 9 shapes. You could arrange them into colours. So how many? We've got different colours. We've got 3 orange shapes and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blue shapes. And then in total, we have 9 shapes altogether. But could we combine these two pieces of information into one table? The total is 9. We want to add them together. So we can add them together by creating what we could call a two-way table. So this table has 2 sets of information on it. It's got both the type of shape as well as the color. So orange circles, how many orange circles are there? There are 2 orange circles. Next, how many blue circles are there? There are 3 blue circles. Then we can add up the total here. So we have 1 row of totals here and 1 column of totals here. So we add those together, we can find those and we should still have 9 in total. So there are 5 blue circles altogether. Then squares, how many orange squares are there? 1. Then how many blue squares are there? 3. And then how many squares are there in total? There are 4 squares in total. So we've organized our information into both the shapes. So we've got how many circles, how many squares, 5 circles, 4 squares. So there's 9. And we could also arrange it into the colors as well. So there are 3 orange shapes, there are 6 blue shapes, and then all together there are 9 shapes. Okay, so we've got the totals here and we've got the totals going across. So we've got the totals going across and down, but we've got to remember there's still only 9 shapes there in total. So how could we fill in this table? So using the information we've got so far. So we've got information around school uniform and boys and girls. So we've got school uniform, 2 boys, 2 girls. So we know that the total here is going to be 4. And we know that we've got boys here have got 2 school uniform, 1 PE kit. means we can work out the total of clothing they've got, and it's 3 in total. Could we use the rest to work out the missing information here? Well, we know that there are 3 total for PE kit, but there's 1 boy, which means it has to be 2 girls in there. Okay, and then the next one, which means that leads us on to finding, okay, there's girls, 2 school uniform, 2 have got PE kit. What's the total? 4. And then remember, the total is going to be the total, like we go across, so the total is 3 and 4, which means it's going to be 7 here. 4 and 3 is 7 over here. Seven. There we go. Okay, with this piece of information, right, we've got school dinner or packed lunch this time, and we've got boys or girls, and could we fill in the missing information? So think about part whole models as well. So we've got 31 and 10 for the boys of school dinner and packed lunch, and then we've got 31 out of 10 to find the total. It's 41, so we can fill in the missing information here. And then we've got packed lunch total we can find here by adding these 2 together. We're finding the sum. 10 and 19 is 29, which means we can fill out this one here. Could we fill out this other information? Okay, we've got the total of girls. We've got the total of girls, but we don't know how many have got school dinner. We know that 19 have got packed lunch, and there are 44 in total. So if we take away the 19 from the 44, it means that we've got 25 left over, which means 25 would have had school dinner. And then if we added those 2 together, we can now work out the final total here. There's a couple of ways we could have done that one. Yeah, we could have done 85, take away 29 to find the total here as well. Either way, we get the same answer of 56. Okay, your turn to have a go now. So silver questions for you to tackle. We'll go through the answers for silver straight after this one, then move on to the gold. So pause the video now and have a go at these. Okay, so bar chart shows the number of visitors to a museum in a week. How many more visitors went to the museum on Tuesday than Wednesday? So you needed to find the difference. What's the difference between the number of visitors on Monday and Friday? So again, you needed to find the difference between those 2 numbers. The total number of visitors for the whole week, added all of those together, hopefully. We'll look at the answers in a second. And then if there are 3 times as many visitors on Saturday as there were on Thursday, how many people visited on Saturday? So look at Thursday, 3 times as many, so multiply it by 3. Pictogram shows the points scored in a game by 5 teams. So similar to the rounders question, and you were comparing the points scored and remembering, hopefully looking at the key. So it's the same again as the question we looked at previously. 1 blue square represents 4 points. So hopefully we're able to compare those. The pink team scored half as many of the number of points that the green team scored. Complete the pictogram for the pink team. So then hopefully you're able to maybe draw it out and then complete the pictogram here. Teddy is working out the difference in points between the red and green teams. I can work out how many points each team scored and then subtract them from one another. Is there another way Teddy could work out the answer? So here are the answers for the silver questions. So on the last one, Teddy could subtract the square and a half for a green from the squares for red to leave 2 whole squares and then convert those to 8 points. So I was looking at the pictures rather than doing the whole total, adding up the total of each one and then subtracting. So just another way you could have done it. Okay, gold questions this time. I'll show the gold, then the platinum, and then I'll show the answers at the end. So the gold questions, pause the video now. And then the platinum questions. So pause the video again and have a go at these. Okay, Let's bring up the answers for the gold questions. So here are the answers for the gold. So Rosie says we asked 54 people altogether. Can you spot Rosie's mistake? How many people were asked altogether? Rosie read the bar chart incorrectly. 15 people chose vanilla, 19 people chose chocolate, 10 chose strawberry, and 12 chose mint. That means 56 people were asked altogether. And then this one, true or false. So looking at a table and answering some true or false questions. The first one, the number of visitors visited Malting's Castle as Filmland Cinema on Saturday. The same number of people visited Malting's Castle as, so the same as Filmland Cinema on Saturday. So if we look at the number of visitors on Saturday, Malting's Castle, Cinema, are they the same? No. Filmland had 9 more visitors. Double the number of people visited Animal World Zoo on Sunday than Saturday. So find the zoo. Did twice as many people visit on Sunday than Saturday? Yes, because if you double 1,282, you get 2,564. And then the least popular attraction of the weekend was Primrose Park. So you needed to add up all the totals. So this table didn't give you the total, so you would have had to work out all the totals yourself and then find out the least popular. And it would have been true. Primrose Park only had 3,277. The others had more. And then our platinum questions. So difference between the highest and lowest temperatures was 7 degrees. And the difference between the lowest temperature on Thursday on Friday. That's not correct for that one. What is the difference between the lowest temperature on Thursday and Friday? So the difference between the lowest temperature, which is +1, and the lowest temperature on Friday, which is -5. So the difference between that will count from -5 up to +1. So -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, +1. So then the difference would be 6 altogether. Not sure what that one is. All right, and then this question, on Monday, all the children at Grange School each play one sport. They choose either hockey or rounders. There are 103 children altogether in the school. 27 girls choose hockey. Write all this information in the table and then complete the table. So it's giving you loads of different info. It's giving you breakdown of information. You had to try and figure out the other missing bits. And hopefully your table looks a little bit like this one. Okay, that comes to the end of our lesson. Well done, everyone.